other things.
Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Education of Lindenville Central School District to order. Will you please join me in the pledge of the flag? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to thank you all for attending. At the beginning of each board meeting, the Board of Education sets aside time for the public to speak to the board directly on any issue they would like, and they sign in and follow a few simple rules. I just want to reiterate that this is a business meeting, and the board is very interested to hear whatever opinions you have to say, but do not expect the potential for banter or decision or action to be taken with this. We're just here to listen to your particular topic, and we will take it under advisement. Two speakers have signed in for this evening. First one is Kristen Fonda, and she would like to speak on student relationships. Kristen? Hi.
Can we slide her a microphone?
I can.
Just because we're streaming.
Okay. Lately, there's been a lot of things going on in the school, and I don't know how many people are aware of it, because you really have to be snooping, or you have to have a very open and honest child, which I don't have really either. So I have done some snooping, and the Snapchat bothers me, and the fact that he makes phone calls from his bathroom so nobody picks on him. But I think one of the big issues is that 5th grade through 8th or 9th have such problems with relating to other humans that they are treating each other so badly. And if you could see some of the stuff that they say, it would make your skin crawl. And they're even doing it on their like video games. I'm like shaking. You can hear him talking to his friends, and my son doesn't do it. He knows that I will not tolerate language in the house, and I can hear them in the headphones saying things. And you're like, I thought he was your friend. Oh yeah, he's my best friend. I'm like, why did he call you that? They just have no idea what they're doing. And then the more you talk to other kids, you know, we hang out, we go to basketball games, they hate school. And it breaks my heart, because we moved here for that community where my kids are going to know everybody and they're going to love everybody. And some of them are not fitting in well. And for other kids to say, I hate school, I don't want to go. My kid, you know, can we go back to home learning? I'm like, no, we can't. But I'm sorry, if we had another option, I might take you to a private school if there was one close, because that's how frustrating it is. So I came with solutions. I don't want to just have problems. So I asked the PTA if there was any money in their budget to maybe hire a speaker to come in and target some of these grades. They suggested I come here because there could be something in the budget or a grant that we could get and bring somebody in and maybe have individual, like each classroom have a speaker or one, or just something about internet behavior, things you say to people, things you don't, but the bullying with who people are, what they might choose to wear, how they cut their hair, like it's sickening. And I just want everybody to know. And some teachers look at me like they don't know. So I don't know if it happens in the hall or in the cafeteria, but I've been talking about it vocally to many people. And like I said, I just want some solutions. So the speaker was an idea. The other thing is some of these kids have no discipline, and I don't know how much you can do, but I would suggest an apology letter. If you hurt someone's feelings and that teacher knows the kid's crying, you find out what happened, you make that kid write a letter, maybe have it signed by a parent or a teacher. And if they're not going to take it home, maybe you make them do it during class or lunch detention, but like make that kid feel like, wow, maybe I won't make that choice next time, because we're doing it at our house and other people are doing it at their house, but not everybody is doing it. And it's hard to be a few. So that's that. And then I thought maybe if you could have a class for parents for internet and phone. My son logged into my phone and took my Snapchat, locked himself, so I couldn't see him. And it took me a while to realize what happened, because I just thought he wasn't using it. So I didn't know he had done that. I don't have time to sit there and play and figure it out. So eventually somebody said, hey, he's posting. I'm like, he doesn't have an account. And they said, oh yeah, he does. So again, I had to be snooping and check. So I mean, I don't have time to like research how to do it, but if there was a class, I would come to it. And I don't know if that's possible. I can ask the PTA if there's something else, but I'm not looking for an answer. I know that we don't do that, but I'm happy to help. If there's something I can do, or I can start a petition, or if you need letters, I can get you 50 probably in the week. So just let me know if there's anything I can do. But that's all that I have. So thank you.
Right there.
Thank you. I think I could speak for the board. I don't think we need a petition. This is obviously a national problem, and we're not unique here, but certainly we can look into different ways to address these types of situations, and your suggestions are good starts. So we'll begin to work on that. So I appreciate you bringing that forward. Any other board members like to comment?
I would like to comment.
Sure.
I'm in favor of these sorts of, a speaker or maybe a program, but I think it has to be in a partnership with parents because teachers are very overwhelmed. They're not teaching academics anymore. They're teaching social skills and discipline and math and this and that. And I'm this may be unpopular, but parents need to be really involved with this in order to be the backbone, because it's a parent's job to raise kids that obviously we all make mistakes. I was not a perfect student. I got in trouble. I did naughty things, and my kids did as well. But we cannot put any more of this kind of stuff on the teachers unless it's in a partnership and working collaboratively with our parents and those kids whose parents aren't maybe so involved. Maybe we can work with the dads that come in and, we can do that sort of thing. But I'm definitely in favor of it, but it has got to be the parents backing. And I think that we have the community that we can do that. So it's not, I just want to make it clear, the teachers can be a part of it, but it's got to be a community-wide process.
I'm particularly interested in the idea of a class for parents, because although everyone won't sign up and go, some of that could be organic, and like you say, you speak with other parents and it opens your eyes and you realize things happen that you certainly don't know about, especially with technology. So appreciate that. Anyone else address that? All right.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
What is the school policy on Snapchat during the day?
Are they allowed to, I mean, all the kids have phones. So as far as what we're allowed to use our phone and when and where, you know what I mean? Like, so I guess my question is, if a lot of this stuff is stemming, kids are getting this bullying and there's no way to track it right back because we're using this app that deletes it over a certain amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, is there, I don't want to say you can't use Snapchat in school because that's, kids aren't going to like it. But the other side of the coin is, if we're using this to evade being caught and making somebody feel like trash, then it's not worth it to me. You can still text message without Snapchat, and if you need to get a hold of your parents or call your parents, fine. If you have a phone that only works on Wi-Fi and you can't call them because there's a different one, come to the office. We have a phone. Call your mom and dad. We'll get you a ride. But maybe if at least we could take the Snapchat out maybe during school hours. It's not going to be popular. There's going to be kids, and I can understand that, but use your phone if you're using a calculator. Use it if you have to call and get a ride. That's what they're for, right?
Yeah, I think our official policy, correct me if I'm wrong, is that each area, so basically each classroom, it's up to the instructor depending on what they want to use with technology. Policing an individual app on everyone's phone, to Sue's point, it would be very difficult for an individual teacher with 18 kids in their class to walk around and.
I know my son has.
I deal with a kid who struggles to self-motivate to do his own work. Probably every parent in the room has had that. But maybe if they have a study hall, turn it off. And I know it's not popular, but my son had projects and assignments incomplete before the second marking period ended, and he has study hall. Maybe if he wasn't playing on his phone, and that's okay, and it's allowed in study hall, maybe it's an option. That's
what we used to be able to do before unlimited data was we were able to block specific websites through the Wi-Fi, which we still do, I think. But that's kind of a legacy thing. That
sure.
it's easy to turn off your Wi-Fi, use your unlimited data, and that's a problem. That's a problem in a school. It's a problem in society. It's a problem at work.
I get it.
It's a societal problem, and maybe back to Kristen's point about more education in the speaker and understanding of what that does to our productivity and our society in general, and to other people.
Jason, you look like you got something. You keep going like this. You got something?
I kind of researched the social media stuff a little bit, and you can get on this and exploit children. I think actually this kind of sure. I had a case one time where it was involving this little class on kids. Okay. Where I was trying to subpoena records. PIC isn't even here in the United States. So I can't subpoena records from Canada. So very difficult sometimes to track this stuff. Yeah. But a couple years ago, I brought in an investigator out of the state police out of Flagpole. He deals with social media crimes. He actually came in and he did a couple of classes with some of the 90 countries. And he talked about, the dangers of social media, how it can affect you years down the road, stuff that's post is always there. It's never going away. If somebody brings up your name, this stuff is going to come up. He tries to explain it to the kids. So I can contact him again and maybe he could work something out with him, bring him in.
I think it's a great first step.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe as your role as an SRO, I know you go into classrooms sometimes, that would take some of the burden off of the teachers. But from your perspective, so we'll start to explore that. So appreciate it.
Please.
I know a lot of school districts do like a No Child Left Behind program because as much as we would like, you can start at home. The kids that are having domestic behavioral problems are not getting the attention they need at home. And it is a school issue. It is a community issue because children need to be raised viable and the school needs to be that way. So when they're not getting the support and love at home, there should be a program at school where they should be able to go and feel safe. I know personally I have a child who has been through a lot. He was an extremely difficult child. He was a tough child, causing bullying and a lot of love and a lot of patience. I feel like that's what these kids need, and they're not getting it. And as much as we want to say, okay, it starts at home, they're not getting it. So there has to be some sort of comfort, and I understand that it can't be the teachers, but there can be community groups we can start that these kids are in, that we can suggest to their parents, hey, they need it.
Maybe organically that can come out of the parent classes, those kind of things, as we don't.
Would you be interested in coming to a PTA meeting about that? To help set up a group, because I think that could be just like how we started the Watchdogs program. If we could, I'm sure, if we had, this isn't a problem that a handful of people have. Those people who would volunteer and help in this program. I think that's something we could do, but it also doesn't put an overstretch on the school as far as what our current resources are, what we can, who we do have available to help. It might be a good way to vet people and then bring people in to set up a group. If you're willing to do that, I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Good discussion. Appreciate it. We have one more speaker scheduled to speak. It's Christina Robertson, and she would like to speak on bullying.
I would say that in the past year, not recently, but my child has been dealing with some stuff. And it's been taken, school has done stuff, but it's still continuing to the point where it is, I'm sure it has become physical at this point being on board. I don't know where else to turn. I'm looking into different things, different options. I guess I don't really know where to go anymore. looking at, the Dignity for All Students Act. It's supposed to protect them from bullying. My child doesn't feel safe at school. She doesn't feel she can trust people. She has gone to sources, and all she has told is we're aware of the situation, but then when something happens and it continues, how is she supposed to feel like she can, if she's going to people doing what she's supposed to be doing, and they're saying that they know that's going on, and then it's still continuing, how is she supposed to feel? So she doesn't feel safe coming to school. She hates coming to school. She every day is sick, physically sick. She's going to the doctor to get medication at 13 years old, which just doesn't seem fair for a 13-year-old to go through this. She finds every excuse to stay home. I make her go to school. She's texting me all throughout the day that she needs to know she's sick. Last week, I had 5 COVID tests because she was convinced she had COVID. I don't really know what to do. I'm trying to support her. I guess I'm looking to see what to do. I don't know what to do anymore.
Is cyberbullying
It's
during
not.
the day?
It's not. It's cyber. There is cyberbullying.
Uh-huh.
What's happening is her name isn't in these things, but it is being confirmed when she's being approached at school. Comments are made when she's walking by the hall, vulgar things every single time she walks past in the hallway. And there's been 2 physical altercations. This past one was pretty bad, and it was my daughter who did it. She started it. And I'm not proud of it, and neither is she. She's upset now because people think she's a bad child. She's not. Just, she's told to ignore it, which I think she's done a really good job ignoring it. But here's the thing, when you're hearing this, because you're not reacting, you're ignoring it, but you're still taking everything in. You're still hearing the vulgar names, being told to kill yourself, being told, fight me, fight me, fight me, and then she reacts, It's just, it was a really, really sad situation. It's very sad to me that she doesn't want to come to school. And a handful of parents that are here today, just a handful, that are dealing with the same student with their kids. And what's happening, they don't want to say anything because they don't want their kid to go through what my kid's going through. Because I'm speaking up, my child is getting it and getting it and getting it. And every time, and I know it's being addressed, and I can tell you how I know, because every time that this child is spoken to, it makes it worse for my child. And I have a very big problem with that. So I don't know what to do anymore. But my child hates him to school. And I don't really want to come home and find my child dead because she can't take it anymore.
The problem with it is sorry, I'm looking. My child also. The problem with it is there may be things in place, okay, but I don't feel that the things in place are by the policy. There are written policies. We have them in front of us today. It doesn't seem like these written policies are being followed with very much, what's the word I'm looking for?
Not being enforced.
Not being enforced at all, correct. I mean, my daughter's dealt with this for a year. Now, yes, administration has been notified for a year. There has been contact with administration for a year. We've had meetings with administration for the first incident. It still continues. It does not end. Now, I guess we're trying to find a resolution to be able to get this to end. Because this is why we're addressing the school board. Because we're in a situation now where we don't know which way to turn. If things aren't done, do we take it upon ourselves to hire a lawyer? Because it's not being addressed properly. And there is laws that children should not be bullied, should not have to deal with this all day long in school. And it's not an internet issue per se, in person, Zoom meet, somebody saying something constantly.
And that's the thing is though, Jill has her blocked on all social media. So to all the other girls that are going and sharing it with Jill, so Jill already knows when the girl goes up to her and saying this stuff, she already knows what it is because she's already seen the videos.
And I'm not saying, my daughter's not perfect. And I get that. And like I said, I'm not proud, and neither is she of what happened. But how much can you
only
take?
take so much before finally it's enough.
And
And that's
what,
where we're at as parents, is what are we supposed to do at this point? Now we're to the point where we spoke with administration, we've been dealing with administration straight through everything else. It's, yes, we're aware of the situation, we're aware of the situation, we're aware of the situation. But you can be aware all you want, but if there's no resolution to the problem, your awareness serves no purpose. This is the problem that we are having. And we're not the only family that is seeing this. It's happening, many parents here, many parents that aren't here. And I guess that's what our reasoning for coming in today is to try to address the board, maybe even find a way to get things straightened out, is whether it's training for administration to handle it, because it's not something that administration used to handle. I don't know how to go about it ourselves. I mean,
well, the thing is, there are things that have been put in place, so don't get me wrong. But the stuff is still happening, so something more needs to be done. Like I said, kids who end up hurting themselves or killing themselves, they take it and take it and take it until they can't anymore. And I don't want to find my kid that way. And I just, something needs to be done. And it's not just, like I said, not just my child, there are other children, and parents don't want to make things worse for them. And it's very sad. Very sad to me.
we're coming to the situation here, even as an open mind for help, regardless if there's going to be retaliation to our children. Now, it could very well be we have three children in the school. There's nothing saying that, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. This one, now my child's going to be either the bad kid or this or that, and there's going to be retaliation throughout my children's years because of this meeting per se, or anything else. I mean, that's the problem I believe that the parents are having stepping forward, that they don't want to have their children retaliated against because enough is enough.
Retaliated against by the people that are already bullying them or by staff. I would hope,
Well, by
that would
the
be,
people bullying.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I would hope that would not be an issue or a concern, but, bullying by other kids, obviously, this is scary stuff. I mean, wow, I'm just so
Yeah.
disappointed.
I personally have brought it up before too. My daughter will not go in the bathroom by herself because her girlfriend throws in the bathroom and tells her to kill herself safe. She has blocked her multiple times, and she will create new profiles and add my daughter just to tell her to kill herself.
Okay, and if I may,
My daughter's not confrontational, so she's not beating her up, but I'm getting to a point where I'm going to tell her she doesn't do it. Because it is harassment, it is ridiculous that our kids are going to school and hearing that they should be doing stuff every single day.
okay, and if I may, and I appreciate you all coming and bringing this to our attention. And as Sue said, we feel for you. It's a genuine emotion, and no one should be bullied, and no one should be safe. But addressing the board, what you're asking solutions or what you can do. What you hold in your hand is what you can do, is the policies, because we write the policies, and if they're not being followed or they're not being followed through, that's something the board should be aware of, and we will make sure that happens. So as we go forward, we'll talk to our administrative team and dig into this matter and how deep it is, and find out what policies aren't being followed. And because that's, in essence, that's our purview. That's what we're supposed to do, and we write the policies for a reason.
And she comes back to school on Wednesday. She's writing it already. She was so nervous about me coming here. She was going to throw up. I mean, this is not. It's very sad. She's 13. It's she's gonna deal with it. And I'm very grateful for what, because of what took place, for her not being expelled, and what the school did for her. She's not being suspended at home. She's actually, across the street and they're working with her, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm not arguing about her suspension because every action has consequences. I mean, she did it, she needs to be, but I just want to know that she is going to be safe. When I send my child to school, I trust that she is safe, and I don't feel like she is. I really don't. And she doesn't feel safe, like I said. She doesn't trust people. She does not want to be here.
And I'm not making excuses, but we put into place the safety nets that we have here with counseling and SRO, obviously our principals, our discipline. And if those safety nets aren't catching her, then we need to take a look at that.
So I guess it's not that things are being done at all. Things are being put in place. I think there's something else that needs to be done because things are being missed.
A lot of being missed, and that's where the scenario lies, okay? Is being a parent with children.
Had to get somebody who's going to watch this stuff.
Before you, tonight,
I'll have one there tomorrow, I'll just let you know.
Yeah, don't share that.
will you be available, and I'll make myself available anytime. As you said, the period on Wednesday, so I'd like to be more proactive. I can make myself available morning, afternoon, evening, late. I'd be happy also if the other thing that are here would like to meet in privacy of my office. Do you have a pen? If you come on over, I'll give you my direct extension and my cell phone.
Christine, Jack, I have a quick question for you. Your daughter has her phone with her throughout the day, I assume, because she's texting you, letting you know that these things are a problem. And Aaron, I want to know if this would actually help you too. If she has her phone with her during the day, can she even use the Let's Talk app that we have? And wouldn't that immediately send something to you? And the only reason I say that is because it may help Aaron and our dean of students notice a pattern where we're having the most problems, because then we could have it documented and they can be like, all right, we're lacking in this avenue in between this period in this hallway. Maybe we need to have more people here just to help monitor a situation. Maybe it could help us on a preventative side of it. But even if it's an anonymous text, like this is happening now in this hallway at this time, we could put a pattern together using that and actually see where our problem is. Maybe it's in between two classes going to lunch. Maybe it's one certain bathroom area. But if it could get a pattern for us to where we could put more supervision, maybe it's just proactively trying to, being a presence could help maybe persuade some of that behavior to not take place. Would that help?
It's a long answer.
Okay.
It may be longer than that. And I really do think that now that we have become a one-to-one school, the entire rationale for us allowing students to have access to mobile devices during the day was the lack of access to a one-to-one device, which they have now. We do an annual review of the code of conduct, and I think that it's time to take a serious look at student mobile phone use. What is their purpose during the day? What I've observed is that largely without any surveillance or supervision, kids can access the World Wide Web, every social media application. Even though we have some of the most sophisticated filtering software on our network resources. And what happens at home on the evenings and the weekends and even during the day outside the school network is what's causing an enormous amount of disruption. We have a multi-billion-dollar industry that's created a perception that adolescents have a right to a device 24/7 with unlimited data. And it's doing a tremendous amount of harm. And I'm a parent of 2 teenage daughters, and I've seen it firsthand to those kids' lives. And much of it is not even any direct harassment. It is as indirect as you can possibly get. We know that social media, artificial intelligence ad tracking and everything else is manipulating the habits of consumers and the social habits of kids right now. I am absolutely an advocate for increased training. We need digital literacy from K through 12. We need awareness of the way that our kids are being used and abused and being divided amongst each other. That's why I say it's a bigger answer. It's a community conversation that we should be having.
That's not what I was asking.
I don't know if Let's Talk can help us
Okay,
during the
but
day.
I just know that like if the kid has that on their phone, they could report something that's bothering us, just like I could or Steve could. Like, so if I want a problem and I want to direct it directly to the superintendent, I just click that box. So my thing is, if the student's having a problem in between these two hallways and they have that on their phone, they could be like, I'm having this problem. And you get an email saying at this time in this part of the school, I'm having a problem. I'm asking if that will help you track where the problem is. Not, everything you said, yeah, I agree with. I'm talking about what we can do to help them throughout the day and see if that could help us with our supervision in the hallway, probably between transitions.
I have a question, and you touched on it briefly, and this, again, might not be popular, but I go to work every day, and I have 2 phones all the time, but there's certain buildings and certain times when my phone is not with me. I have to turn it in when I walk in the building, and I don't see it for 8 hours afterwards, and I have a family, and I have kids, and stuff could happen, but there's always a way for whoever's at that front gate could call me if there was an issue. When I went to school here at Linneville, we had a phone at the end of that hall. It's no longer there, for 10 cents, and you could call, and I never had 10 cents on me. But I don't understand. I've pushed for this for a while. Why do kids need to have their phones here at school? And parents are adamant that they have that contact with their kids. With that is a price, and that is that our kids are distracted. Their phones are they're texting each other, their parents, whatever, during classes. They're not able to fully be in the moment and focus. My suggestion is, at the very least, that we have a box at the beginning of each, or in each classroom, that they're assigned. Put your phone in number 48 when you walk in this room. So at least during the classroom portion, those phones are not being used. We have calculators, we have computers, we have laptops. Why do kids need to have their phone here all day? Is there a place they can lock them up when they walk in the front door? I know many schools do not allow cell phones in the school. They're locked up when they first walk in. They have a mailbox that's supervised, and they don't need them. If there's an emergency, we are going to contact your parents. We're going to contact your Uncle Joe or whomever and make sure that you're safe. But that would at least minimize the, oh, did you see what so-and-so is wearing today? And 13-year-old girls can be very evil. I remember 7th grade being the worst year of my life, and we didn't have cell phones back then, so I can only imagine, and it breaks my heart that this is happening right now. Again, we have to come up with a solution. Do our kids really need access to their cell phones all day long? Do they really? Are we paranoid parents? Do our parents need some education on, hey, our job is to, teach these kids to use a map and to use, write a letter, or my son didn't even know how to put the address on an envelope because all he does is send text on everyone. And it's kind of discouraging to me that was the case. And I felt a little responsible for that. I personally do not think kids need to have their cell phones in school.
I understand and I agree with you.
Maybe so, but at this point, we have other options for them to look up information on their laptop.
I understand and I agree with you. My concern is right now, this is an unsolved problem. So if my son does have a study hall and it's not social media that's bullying him, and he wants to reach out to me and be like, hey, Dad, I'm just having a tough day on a text message, I'd love to be able to be like, hang in there. You're going to be fine. And be able to give him something encouraging, because that's not what he's getting right now. If we were giving those things right now and we didn't have these problems that made so many people come in the room, I'd say you're right. Put them in a box in the front of the room when they walk in. But we got unaddressed issues. And if their daughter or their son wants to be able to, hey, can you please help me out today? Or this day couldn't get worse. Can you come pick me up? I want them to be able to send me that message.
How about me and go speak to the guidance counselor, and then work through it that way, and if the guidance counselor feels that they can call, they get their phone back at that point. 'Cause I think minimizing the amount of communication that goes on in between is a pretty important part of it, but anyways, my 2 cents.
To me, this sounds kind of like a workshop issue
Yeah.
where you bring in a workshop, you have the public take a look at how it's working. I will, how they're working with other schools, how it's working with other school districts, et cetera, and as a community, look at the pros and cons, which we did 10 years ago, but obviously a lot has changed between now and then. Okay, one last thing. You said you wanted.
Our hall monitors still being used today? What do you think there? Or teachers leaving their classrooms and being out in the hall to witness
Maybe if they
it?
have volunteer teachers who can maybe have 1 or 2 in a hallway, and then they're hearing this conversation of all the names of the teachers that call, send them here. But, it's being said in the hall when they know there's no teachers, so the problem is that it's not happening within the classroom or even on social media, face to face in the hallway. You have hall monitors or teachers or whoever standing in the hall, maybe they can hear these things and prevent, charging attack.
Do we still have hall monitors in between transitions? We have one. For the,
What about the bathroom?
The teachers
Like,
don't walk
why
out
is
in
this
the
girl
hall?
always in the bathroom when our girls are in the bathroom?
that's
One at a
what-
time,
Our
it'll be
teacher
all day
used to walk
long.
into the hallway
She's
and wait
always in
during
there with
class
her
to
potty.
There was
For
always
high
a teacher
school,
at every door.
school, I understand there might be some crossing and hallways, but sometimes she's meeting outside the classroom, she shouldn't be there. And teachers are aware and they're doing their best to say, we'll pay attention, but it hasn't been noticed yet.
That's pretty much one person.
Yes, it is one, that is
One
my,
girl.
that is my question.
If you ever put her
How
in
many
charge of
complaints
discipline, she
does
might sound like she's got it all under control, I think it's great of her. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, and
All right.
I didn't
Let's.
even mention what started it. Let me tell you why my daughter became this target. Because a student made a derogatory comment about somebody being gay. And my daughter said, other people's sexual orientation is none of your concern. And that's why she's been getting this for the past year. That is ridiculous. And so that is why she's constantly.
Okay, well, thank you all. We really do appreciate you coming in and making us aware, and we will start addressing this at a little deeper level. Okay, so thank you very much. And now to business portion of the meeting, we need a motion to approve the.
Can we take just a 2-minute recess in case anybody doesn't want to stay for this entire thing and not feel guilty about getting up or walking out? Doing that?
We could let's do this approval of minutes, and then we're on to
Absolutely.
presentations and on which people can get up and move. Need a motion to approve the minutes meeting dated January 10th, 2022.
Motion to approve?
Any questions or comments? All in favor of approval of the minutes, please raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. We are set for 2 presentations, Wrestlers Battle in the Ville presentation and a budget presentation. And you are no obligation to stay if you're not. So now would be a great time to leave before we start that presentation. But I would obviously encourage you to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Did you say pause?
Pause.
No, keep it on. Jimmy, we'll just wait until Chris gets back and then we'll.
And if you tell somebody who's got something like that problem, and they have to secure like a wrestling pad, and the surgeon
All of us got one? Yeah. At least you have one that doesn't strong. Oh, it's on. It's like, sure.
Yeah, I feel like my brother's not. I get it. I just gotta be. Sure. They're not touching.
Terrible. And I'm worried, and I check it out all the time. I don't even like to keep any towards grandparents' house unless I know they're gonna be like, look, it's sick. I'm going on right now. He's in church right now. So, but he can't just go to the council after being ridiculed.
Yeah.
So if you and your children.
You have to read exit.
Okay.
Just, you can't read the whole thing, you can't give any context. It's sick. He was afraid of it for his sleep all the time. Non-stop. It's like, you can't, it's over anymore, like, so then when he got knuckled with it,
No, that's the girl. This is seventh grade for you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, that's big part of it. Yeah. Is the mic on up here? No, just.
Just press the button.
Okay.
Joe,
It's red now, it's, oh.
There you go. And Joe, just pick it up. They don't have to get on top of it.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll let Coach Z.
All right, so I'd like to start by thanking the board, our administration, teachers, community. After obviously a really difficult year last year with COVID and not getting our season started until late, we had the opportunity to host 3 tournaments here this year, which was a really large undertaking, but they went off honestly without a hitch, and it was honestly with a lot of support from everybody around. So we hosted our annual Fred Large tournament. We had 18 teams here this year, schools as large as Wayne, East Ridge, and we came in second place at that tournament and had a pretty good showing. We hosted sectionals at the end of the year just a couple weeks ago, which again, that's the first time that we've ever hosted sectionals in Lindenville. Normally we're driving to Bolivar Richburg, South Seneca last year, Alfred Allman. We've been all over the place. So for once we got the opportunity to host them and they had to drive to us, which was fun to have the tournament here, to sleep in our own beds the night before, but a little bit of an undertaking again to set up and pick up. And our wrestlers were honestly great about everything. They were here to set up, they were here to take down late nights, early mornings. They were here for all of it. So one of the other things that we set up this year was a dual meet tournament. So an individual tournament, they're bracketing, they're separating each wrestling weight class and wrestling through that to find a true champion in each weight class. For a dual meet tournament, our team faces off against other teams throughout the day. And so ours was bracketed. We wrestled in a pool of 4 other teams. And then the winner of that pool against the winner of the other pool eventually determines the champion. So one of the things that Coach Sherrod asked for was, we called this the Battle in the Ville. He had asked for the wrestlers to kind of develop an idea for a trophy or some sort of an award. So actually they partnered with BOCES, and Peyton, one of our wrestlers here, is going to tell you a little bit more about that.
So basically, we have BOCES kids in different classes. There was a senior and a junior in welding, Hunter Dix and Christian Garber, that cut the shield and welded on the LUC. And then a kid in auto body used paint to paint the L and Battle in the Ville and painted everything black. Alan Heidman.
And they the kids did a great job with it. Just going through, we want something unique for the trophy, and I think it shows really some of the services that we have. Obviously, we've got a large number of kids that go to BOCES, a large number of kids who participate in all sorts of activities. That's one of the nice things about our small district is you can be. I know when David Valvia came and spoke, he said you can be in the band, you can be the point guard on the basketball team. You can be in, academic decathlon. You've got all these options. So we've got a very large portion of our team and of our school that go to BOCES for the trades. And I think this is a good example of overlapping all those services. And, just kind of was a neat thing to go along with what we were able to do this year.
And if I remember correctly, the boys were sharing the laser versus the plasma printer or cutter on this.
Yes, I believe so. And again, it's a number of different classes that they did it in a very short period of time. We were talking about trying to figure out a neat trophy for it, and they did it within a week. Yeah, less
We
than a week.
basically planned it and made it within a week. It was the Saturday before we thought of it, and then it was made.
We should go work with our government.
So that implies that BOCES were supportive of all of this as well?
Yes.
Great.
So
Can you pass the shield? Now, nobody break it.
The goal of this is on the back, or we might actually build like a little like platform for it to get the years, like progressive years on it. So hopefully it's something we can do year in, year out. And again, the facilities we have here have been great, obviously for the tournaments we've been able to host. So that's a testament to obviously the board and the district and the administration for supporting us with that as well. So thank you very much for that.
Pretty sweet. Good job.
The other thing that we were able to do this year, so because we're hosting tournaments, we were looking for a podium for all of our tournaments and our individual finishers. And so we were able to build a podium, and then some of our wrestlers painted the podium and put numbers and section 5 on the front of it. We're going to paint the other side black and then have orange numbers on the other side for our Fred Large tournament that we can use every year. And the section 5 one will be available if we're ever fortunate enough to get sectionals back here again.
How did you get sectionals this year?
So it's a bidding process. So all of the teams within your class are allowed to place a bid. Basically, the lowest bid wins. And so we had put in for it last year, and we didn't get it. We put in for a pretty low amount of money. This year we said, you know what, we'll get it all figured out. We'll take care of it. We put in for 0, and we were the low bid. So that's been a struggle. In years past, it's been a 2-day tournament. And because we don't have a hotel in the nearby area, they've actually pushed back on us regardless of what we bid. They've said, we don't want teams to have to drive that far and nowhere to stay. It has since been moved to a 1-day tournament. And because it was only 1 day, they said, you can drive, you can make it in the morning, you can stay the night before, whatever you need to do, but it's a 1-day tournament. So.
Burden does that no bid? What's the monetary? Explain that to me.
I think really in general, the difference between us traveling there and hosting it kind of is much of a wash in terms of the fact that it's really minimal as far as what we need to provide, because the section runs everything. So they run the awards, they run the bracketer, they run all that. All we have to really, we didn't even have to provide table help this year. We did because we've got a very strong group of alumni that'll come and help and people in the community. But as far as that, it's kind of a wash as far as if we had to hire a bus driver to drive us to, again, South Seneca or Bolivar Richburg, where it's been in the past.
So were those district funds that were used? I know you have a wrestling club. Was the wrestling club funds that were used?
For which?
So if let's say your bid was $500, yeah, where does that $500 come from?
So there's various things, ticket takers, chaperones. That's really where the majority of the cost comes from. Section 5 paid for the trainer for us, so that was at no cost. And then the chaperones were basically the only cost to us as a district. But again, like Mr. Schur said, if we were to travel, we've got the cost of the rooms, we've got the cost of the bus, I honestly think we come out on top in this situation every time.
It was a wonderful event, and to have that many individuals in our school from all over the area and as well as local people, it was a great thing. So I guess I'm not offering, but without unilaterally, but if we can encourage those kind of things, if no bid, get you the bid, whatever we can do, I'm pretty sure we can come up with whatever support that you need.
Thank you. And again, I think anybody who came and saw a lot of, I did see a lot of faces administratively on the board that were there. Mrs. Smith was there for a very long chunk. She's a great fan to have out there, and but it was a packed house. There was a lot of energy there. We were pretty close to pulling it out, but Bolivar Richburg is between 3 and 5 in the state, so they're pretty tough. maybe next year we'll get over the hump there. But we've been down there. They've won, I think, 4 out of the last 5 years, and they've hosted something like, I think, like 3 out of the last 5 years. So, you know, we actually went there a couple of years ago. I know Mario Ferdanza, a lot of you guys know, wrestled and had a really energetic finals match, but I do think their home field advantage kind of pushed their guy over the edge a little bit. So that was something that we really pushed to try to get here so we could kind of have that. And we've got a really good group of parents that support us and again, community that supports us that made it a really special event. And for the fact that we've had the program for as long as we've had and never hosted, I think that speaks a lot too to, again, obviously the facilities. I think that's a huge part of it, that a lot of the teams came back and said it was ran very well, and obviously the proximity of the gyms and the concession stands and everyone involved really helped that out.
I want to add to that on that point. Numerous, and I mean coaches from other school districts, multiple officials and league representatives wanted me to know that I was wearing orange and black, so they didn't know who I was, but I was wearing orange and black. Wanted me to know how well this was run. They remarked specifically on our facilities. I have to thank Kevin and our buildings and ground staff. They were tireless in getting us ready for it. How welcoming the community was. The stands were packed. I think our administrators were there, teachers were there, families were there. The younger kids, I know Vern and some of our junior wrestlers were there. So I can't thank you enough. What a wonderful event this was. I love the Battle in the Ville as well, not just because we took first and we'll get them next year on sectionals, but really congratulations, Mr. Schur, Mr. Zeliff, and the boys distinguished themselves. I want to say with in both those events, we had not one problem, not one disciplinary problem, not in the other teams or our teams. This was a lot of folks in the stands and all over, not one single problem. It speaks well of not only our coaches and the organization, but our wrestlers in general. Really nicely done, gentlemen. Congratulations.
Guys, I wanted to say congrats, but I also wanted to say if anybody hasn't seen one of these matches, they've always been intense. Wrestling is not a full contact sport. It is a violent sport. And you guys held yourself incredibly well. And the fact that you guys are doing this with masks on, I think most people don't even want to have their arm held, but then let alone start to hyperventilate and have their mask on. I think that it puts a whole nother level on how hard it is what you guys do and how hard it is to be successful. I want to say hats off to you guys. And Jim, if I can put you on the spot, Mr. Zeliff and I were just having a conversation last week about getting our youth program to continue. And we see that our youth program pays dividends. 8 years ago, that's when I met Peyton. It was in our youth program coaching. And it has, like, we did not have it last year with COVID. And this year we could not get it in the winter because of scheduling. But we're both looking forward to running it as an after-school program starting in March. So we hope that we get as many youth wrestlers to come out, and we are still going to be able to offer it to our community. It's just on a different schedule than normal. And yeah, I think I said a lot of it, what you said, but I'm looking forward to getting right back into wrestling with you. So, great, thank you.
Can I get the boys in the middle and the coaches there, and we'll get a good picture? Shield in the middle. I did.
From Albion up there?
I'm waiting for my.
Section 5.
Section 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, gentlemen. That looks great. Thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you all again, we appreciate it. The mask did help Maddox,
There you
because
go.
per rule, he can only have a beard if he has the mask. I think he's our only guy that can grow fish.
Healthy beard, brother.
I saw more mullets than a motocross race. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. Next up is a budget presentation. Joe, you gonna start off?
So as Joe gets ready and settled, he's going to be passing out your handout. This is my first budget go round. And yeah, woohoo! And I'm really very grateful for Dr. Slack, Dr. Smith, and especially our business administrator, Joe. I got mine, Joe DePasio, who has worked tirelessly on this and advising us and telling us, all the wonderful things we can do. I believe this budget, and we can go to the first slide, Joe. I believe this budget absolutely represents our commitment of our goals. If we aren't, these are, in some areas, we are the leaders, and there are other areas we want to become the leaders. And this budget represents our goal towards being a leader in academics in our region, positive school culture and climate, community pride, I think we got there already, fine arts, athletics and sportsmanship, and being good stewards, good stewards of the financial resources that have been put at our disposal. And I think what you're about to hear in this first presentation that Joe's about to go through represents all of those things. It's your show, Joe.
So this is the first draft, and what we decided to do is it's pretty high level, this draft, and next month, a month from now, it'll be much more detailed. We have the numbers behind this, but we'll bring those in next month. This is aligned core beliefs is the next slide, and we do put students' needs first. In communication timely, transparent, and reciprocal, and the district's resources are utilized effectively. The major message, this is a government budget, governor's budget that we've been told that we are now getting $323,000 more than last year. Last year, if you remember, it was up and down, but then now we are clear that we're going to get at least $323,000 more than last year. In addition to that, the next bullet is that our 22-23 budget will still require, as always, a balanced budget. But in addition, we're going to need to use the reserve funds as we've done over the last number of years, and we will be continuing to do that this year. And we're going to continue to review our options, and like I said, when we come back next month, it'll be a very detailed communication. This will also show that we are proposing, like we did last year, a 2% increase in the tax levy. And there's a slide on that we'll get into in a few minutes. And then last, we will be looking to purchase one bus like we have done the last number of years. And the key thing is no tax impact as we're using reserve funds. Additional information. Additional information is that we are going to either now or through the next few months negotiate the LEA collective bargaining unit. In addition to that, the LASA bargaining unit, which is the 3 administrators. And then last is we're going to need a new RFP for our food service, and we'll be putting that out shortly. Like last year and the last number of years, we talk about fiscal stress. And this comes from the comptroller's office. And the key message here is we continue to be in good standing. The terminology they like using is no designation. You can see there's 670 districts in New York State, and there are a few of them that either have fiscal stress, as you can see here, 23, and the environmental stress, which is 82 districts, or about 12%, of the districts in New York State. We continue to be in good standing. Minimum wage. For the last 5 years, minimum wage has gone up precisely 70 cents each and every year. It is now at $13.20. The probability is going to be high again. They changed the rules a little bit, but the probabilities are going to be high again that it will increase. I'm estimating that it'll be 70 cents per hour again, which there aren't that many employees that we have, but there's some employees that we have that will increase their rate of pay, and therefore a small increase needed for a budget. Health insurance. I sit on the consortium representing our district, and this up and coming year for our budget, it will be a 5% increase in our healthcare cost. That's about $98,000. Retirement system payments, both for the faculty and staff. You can see the TRS rate went up about 0.5 percentage points. The cost of that across all our different employees in the TRS world, the teachers world, is $64,000. And then this year, they dropped the ERS rate. The ERS rate was pretty high last year, and now it's, you can see if you're tier 4, it'll be a 13% rate. And if you're tier 6, 8.2%. The calculation of that across our organization would be a decrease of $40,000. Therefore, it'll be overall a small increase of about $24,000. The tax cap calculation, we prepared a budget assuming a 2% increase like we did last year. If you go to the bottom of the document, you'll see 3.01% would be the maximum that our tax cap can go up. But we're assuming a 2% increase, and that's going to help us continue with what Sharon was talking about earlier regarding the costs.
Joe, can I clarify that for a minute?
Sure.
What Joe is saying, this budget is based on a 2% increase, but of course that'll be determined by the Board of Ed. To keep us under the tax cap, we can go no more than 3.01%, and that'll keep us under the cap. But how the budget is configured and what the increase will be determined by all of you.
Yes, thank you. Thanks. The slide that I've been using for the last few years will show the impact of the tax cap. The tax levy as a function of the tax rate. And as you can see, it's continually going down. Last year, per $1,000, the rate was $15.12 for the school tax. One of the reasons of the driver, we did raise it 2%, but the assessments went up even higher than 2%. So it caused the rate to be actually lower year over year. And then last for right now is the voters' propositions. And the first is always the budget for 22-23. There are going to be 3 board seats this year. A key one for us is the transportation. We will be purchasing or looking to purchase 1 new bus, and again, at no tax impact. And then last, something that doesn't affect our school budget, but nonetheless, we're the custodians of the community library, the AIDS Community Library. I can open it up now for any questions that you might have at this point.
Yeah, once they're replacing it's currently out of service, what's wrong with it?
There's a few things. There's some rust, and the DOT has very distinct requirements for us to pass. And for us to fix that bus will cost us maybe, I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000 to $8,000.
I mean, that's a diesel vehicle. It's got 141,000 miles on it. I don't quite understand that, but obviously somebody's making a decision. So,
How much could we get on our return for selling that bus?
Well, we tried this year for the first time, instead of trading it in, because we've been accustomed to trading in our buses. We got, I think it was $3,300 for I'm sorry, I'm going from memory. I think it was about $3,300 we got for the bus that we put up for sale versus trading it in.
what do they give you for trading it in?
It varies. They come out and take a look at it, and then they give us a price as a function of what the bus is.
Joel? Back on the fiscal stress condition,
Yes.
flat,
Okay, let me go back. Yes.
just looking at trending data from 2018 to 21, when you're talking about fiscal stress, there's a big trend
Yes.
there, along with the environmental stress trend, which is stuff we necessarily can't control. Fiscal stress, yes, to an extent. What's to say that doesn't double over again?
Well, let me explain. What happened one of those years that caused it to drop, increase, was that there was a timing that we were expecting to get about $330,000 of revenue. That unfortunately it ended up going into the next year. So that year, if you remember our audit, we ended up having a very, very small deficit, about $20,000 deficit, where it was picked up again the year after with the $330,000 plus another $430,000 surplus. So I think what they do is they use fact-based information and take a look at how we ended up using our audits and how we ended up at the completion of the year. And that particular year was just a mistiming. We were expecting that first half payment of our building aid. It just didn't come through timely enough, so it couldn't be allocated into the year. That's what Joel.
The simple answer to that, because I asked the same question, I get this report first, and I sat down with Joe and said, explain to me. I was concerned too. You see that double. And what the simple answer is, the building aid payment came late, and thus putting the year we reported 2021 at the end of 2021 put us in fiscal stress. Then the building aid came in a few weeks later. If I understand Joe's explanation to me, I asked the exact same question. And I also looked at similar schools who did not experience that same fiscal stress and have me concerned, rural schools, and then some schools, one of our neighbors who is under fiscal stress. So when Joe explained to me that an anticipated payment came after June 30th, and that's what put us from 20 to 2021 in that doubled fiscal stress. The 20% still keeps us as a district in good standing. You're absolutely right. We don't want to go above that. Joe told me that I could anticipate at the end of 2022 that that number will be lower as long as our building aid and other payments come through before June 30th. Joe, did I encapsulate that well?
Yes, yes, thank you.
I thought we were gonna shop for health insurance.
I don't remember that discussion after we were happy with consortium.
No.
I thought we offered different plans. I didn't think we changed.
That happened at a meeting, like a.
This was part of the, this came out of the, negotiations. That we knew we were gonna have to go shopping for health insurance in order to not have to deal with this.
Did that come out of your negotiation committee?
Yes.
I don't recall that being reported out.
We were supposed to look at other consortiums.
Yeah.
Are we in?
What?
Yeah. Joe, any idea what else is available? What other schools are using?
No, we other districts in our area are using this consortium, and there's another few districts that are under a different group. And that's the two different, within all the different districts within this area.
That conversation, I was not part of it. I wasn't part, but if you want us to look at,
Well, the big difference is.
we will.
I'll just tell you now, I pay $18,000 for MVP healthcare for a family plan. That's the cost. We're paying almost $30,000 for the same plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield and this consortium that's supposedly so great. It's a huge difference.
Well, Sharon, we'll take that as an actionable item, and by the next budget, we'll thoroughly understand it and potentially break away if it ends up being obviously cheaper.
Just quickly, to get my head straight, can you give me an idea of what the environmental stressors are that they calculate into this, or we calculate into this?
Yeah, I looked at that, but because we're
Was
in.
that from the state, or was that from you?
Oh, no. That's a direct, this slide about environmental stress and fiscal stresses directly comes from the state comptroller. It's off the internet and it's communicated across all 670 districts.
They break that out online, or?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And you can see which districts are in stress. You can see which ones aren't. Yes.
Can you send me that link, or is there a link that I can go?
Yes, I'll take an action and send the board that link.
We'll come back to the board, and we'll look at the contract, and then we'll come back with that.
Okay. Is there any other questions?
So we'll have more detailed information next month,
Yes, much more.
based on more real numbers.
Yes, we have been working it, and we have a number of numbers, but it'll be all communicated like it has been in the past for the March meeting.
Yeah, one other point, I know that Harold brought up, and I think it's a valid one. Does the cost of the new bus include air conditioning?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear
Does
you.
the cost of the new bus include air conditioning?
For the driver, there's air conditioning in the front end for the driver, but there isn't air conditioning throughout the bus.
Can we see what that costs?
I could.
$1,000.
I will take an action to check what that is, because obviously we have state contracted bid that it comes to us. I could ask for what it would cost for air conditioning throughout the bus. So I'll take that as an action. Anything else?
Yeah, Joe, what would it cost to implement a high-speed rail within the county?
Good question. Any further questions? Okay, thank you.
We are on to superintendent's report, Sharon.
So first, I'm so happy to be spending my Valentine's Day with all of you. I can't imagine wanting to be anywhere else but right here, right now. So happy Valentine's Day to each of you. And any of you who remember elementary school, this is the happiest day in elementary school. No one is left out. Everybody gets to read many, many Valentines from every single classmate. And our older students were not left out. I was really, it was very sweet to walk into Lisa Schwarzat's class as she was organizing each of the Valentines that she handmade for her 7th graders. So I'm really thankful to each of our teachers who still make happy school memories for all of our kids. So it is a great thing. Again, thank you to our well, I want to go back to, all right, I'm going to keep going. I attend a lot of our games and I love it. I miss attending my own children's games, but they grew up and ran away. So now I get to watch all of our children here at Lindenville's games, and I love each and every one of them. But the highlights have to be our senior nights for our boys and girls basketball and wrestling. The coaches and the underclassmen preparation, the underclassmen athletes, their teammates, the preparation and the beautiful tributes and the heartwarming send-offs truly, congratulations to each of our senior athletes, but I really want to congratulate their parents as well. You know, many of you are parents, how much work it takes getting these kids to practice and home, and all the schedules. If we have successful teams, it's because we have parents who are really dedicated to supporting their students in these efforts, because it's those same kids who are also in our musicals and playing instruments, and we're so grateful to our parents and how many of our students participate in our extracurriculars. I've already mentioned our musical practices are ongoing, and I so look forward to our performance of Cinderella. This week, I got a little relief. Mrs. Julia Robinson, Mrs. Katie Franks, and Mrs. Penny Berry are all in full swing in their share of supporting our students with disabilities, CSE meetings, CPSE meetings, as well as some instructional support. So I'm grateful for those professionals, as well as Dr. Smith and Dr. Slack, who have been instrumental in this very smooth transition. I hope they think it's smooth as well. I'm grateful for their support and leading instructional decisions and guidance as well. And thank you to Joe DePasio, as he has been tutoring me. I'm doing lots of deep reads in learning budget processes and being good stewards of the resources that have been given to us. We had together with our committee that, thank you, Ted Lewis, for forming a construction committee as we investigate what's going on with our roofs. Thank you to Steve Van and Harold Schur, our administrators, Joe, Kevin, Shaja. We've come together twice now with Ted Mountain to review the state of our roofs, potential a building project. Harold's going to speak a little bit more about that, and I've asked Ted Mountain to present to you in March at our March meeting. And Harold and I can both answer questions on that point as we go through. And then finally, as you know, what the governor did to us and other public schools in this past week, when she removed the public mask mandate but kept in place the requirement mandate for our students, faculty, and staff to remain masked. This is also in other public buildings such as prisons, nursing homes, and other healthcare facilities. This has been challenging. I can't tell you how grateful I am that in Lyndonville we have not seen the public demonstrations. We have not had the drama and protests that other districts have. So on the record, I am so grateful to our community in protecting this learning environment so we can keep doing what we're doing. I do encourage families, parents, adults, specifically adults, to go out there and exert your civic rights. Make your voices heard, whichever side of this you are on. But please, please allow us to preserve the safe place for our kids to be kids, for our kids to learn and thrive, and to keep those events that we see all over the internet and even in our neighboring districts. I ask our community to be patient just a little longer. I hope and I pray that during this winter break, rational decisions and directives will be coming to us. In the meantime, I've asked, as you know, you have seen the email to our faculty and staff, that we ask our students to cooperate, and they have. The administrators stood at entrance Friday where we thought we might have any issues. Not one single issue with our children coming in, grabbing their masks, as they always do at the front door of our 7th through 12th graders. I was in the cafeteria for our little ones, and Dr. Smith was across the street at Main Street. And I can't thank our community enough for protecting our learning environment. And our faculty and staff with their patience and resilience and kindness, and we've asked that to continue. That's it for me.
Are there any questions for the superintendent? Hearing none, we'll move on to business action items. Need a motion to accept donation from the American Dairy Association Northeast of a milk cooler as printed.
Motion to accept.
Questions or comments?
The one that's on the, load map right now?
Yeah.
Well,
Going
now you
over,
can
over
unbox it.
February break, it's
So-
going over.
All right, all in favor of moving it inside the building, please raise your right hand. Need a motion to accept the declaration of obsolete, surplus, or unusable equipment as printed.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. On to business information items. As we go through these, if you have any specific questions, please bring them forth and we'll get an answer. Treasurer's report, December 2021. Student activities balance and reconciliation sheet, December 2021. Year-to-date report, July 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. General fund schedule of claims numbers 7 and 8. Trust and agency schedule of claims number 5. On to personnel certified. Mrs. Smith, we have a resignation.
It saddens me, but I recommend that the Board of Ed accepts the resignation of Joe DePasio in the role of business administrator. And it is with sadness, and very much congratulations on his upcoming retirement.
Need a motion to accept.
Motion to accept with thanks. I'll second with thanks.
Any questions or comments? All in favor of accepting the resignation, please raise your right hand. And that is unanimous. Thank you, Joe. Next up is teacher appointment.
I'm making a recommendation that Richard Augustus be appointed to a probationary position as a special education teacher in the tenure area of special education beginning February 15th and ending on February 14th, 2026. Rich came to us. He's been in a long-term sub position that we established in August when one of our teachers took a position outside our district. Rich has done an exceptional job. He has been observed by me twice. He continues to grow. He's open to new learning, as you saw in my letter of recommendation. So I put this forward to you for your approval.
Need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Questions or comments?
Special ed.
No, actually, this, in August, one of our secondary special education teachers took a position in a neighboring district, and we posted, but we decided to go with an LTS, giving us more time. And Rich has not only gotten his certification, but has proven to be a really very successful teacher.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the teacher recommendation, or I'm sorry, teacher appointment, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. We have mentor teacher appointments.
I recommend the following mentors: an annual stipend of $500, which will be prorated according to the length of the assignment. Amy Butel and Tammy Mallon will be, this is one of those. Tammy Mallon will be taking over for Rich Augustus. Katie Franks had started as his mentor teacher, which was a perfect addition. With Katie's new role in backfilling some of my roles, Tammy Mallon, who has already established a really positive relationship with Rich and has already has been working with him. So we recommend Tammy to support Rich. And Jody Kinsey, by the way, is a new teacher who started Dr. Smith about a month ago.
January?
Yep, about a month ago. So Amy Butel and Tammy Mellon is my recommendation for mentor.
Second.
Comments? All in favor of the mentor teacher appointments, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstain? Did you get that, Lori? Steve opposed. Kristen, did you oppose?
No.
Okay, just kept your hand up. Yes, so one dissent. The motion passes. Independent study.
You have the support in your packet, so I recommend Chris Vaughn for a 0.5 independent study in economics for a $250 stipend. And if you have, their support of why we're doing that is in your packet.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Coaching recommendations.
The AD has submitted the following coaching recommendations: JV baseball, Brad Hoffey; varsity baseball, Shane Price; volunteer assistant baseball, Mark Hughes; JV softball, Alicia Hinkson; varsity softball, Joe Moore; volunteer assistant softball, Rick Boyle; varsity boys track, Jimmy Zealiff; varsity girls track, Paula Bachman.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor of the coach's recommendations, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Student teacher.
As per your packet, I recommend Justice Colvin, student teacher in physical education, 30. This would be his observation hours with Carly Sturdivant.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. On to personnel classified resignations.
Let me get there, sorry.
No problem.
I recommend that you accept the resignation of Doreen Borgel, cafeteria monitor. I kind of want to do the other one separately.
Motion to approve. Second.
Questions or comment? All in favor of the resignation of Doreen Borgel, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstain?
And with a heavy heart, I ask and recommend that you accept the resignation of Luann Henry, Secretary 1. Luann has served in our district for many years and has been my personal administrative assistant. And I can't thank her enough for her service to this district, to this community, and students with disabilities. That effective date would be August 31st, 2022 for retirement.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor? Go ahead.
Why August 31st?
I think she just wants to help whoever may be
Comes in.
to get through the summer. The summer will give them more time to spend together.
But she starts with that. Very funny.
She really is that kind of person.
Questions or comments? All in favor of the resignation and to accept the resignation of Luann Henry as printed, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Temporary cleaner appointment.
I recommend the appointment of Renee Breeze as a temporary cleaner effective February 7th, 2022 through no sooner than August 31st, 2022, with the appointment not to exceed 1 year.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor of the appointment, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Substitute appointments.
Yep. I recommend the following be appointed without benefits except as required by law to the positions indicated below, with services to be utilized on an as-needed basis at the discretion of the superintendent of schools. Service shall be at will and at the pleasure of the Board of Education. Hallie Eckerd, substitute cleaner at $13.20 per hour. Melissa Ostrowski, substitute cleaner at $13.20 per hour.
Need a motion to approve?
Oh, I thought you said motion. Yeah, sure. Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor of the substitute appointments, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstained?
I was good. I said yes.
I'm sorry, you voted?
I voted yes.
Okay, just with your mind, that's okay. Student substitute.
This next recommendation is near and dear to my heart, and as well as to our entire administrative staff and Kevin Seja. It actually solves two problems. It's a celebration that these students have submitted for an interview, submitted an application, letters of recommendation, and an interview with Dr. Slack and Kevin Seja. So it is with pleasure that I recommend the following students as substitute cleaners at a rate at $13.20 an hour. Nolan Phillips, Kylie Reisman, Jacob Fleming, Rebecca Clemens, Chris Mondu, and Kendra Lonan.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? I have a quick question. So this is just our students helping, getting a job in the building after hours,
Yes,
after
sir.
school, that kind of stuff.
This was a collaboration and conversation. First, we have a need. And these students all want to earn some money, and each of them expressed that in their interviews. And if people have questions, Erin can speak to that. And it is something I had experience in my former district. Most districts in our region do use student cleaners, both in the summer and during the school year. We will follow the rules, the labor laws, regarding how many hours they can work, and we're going to take it slow. We'll start with two students will be working together. We'll do 2 hours apiece. You'll note a working supervisor will be there to support them and answer questions and to check on them. And as students rise, those that do a really nice job will be rewarded with increasing more hours.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the student substitute cleaners, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Working supervisor for student cleaners.
So I recommend that we give a stipend payment of an additional $3 per hour to a night cleaner to be determined to be the working supervisor for student cleaners. This stipend would be only for the number of hours worked by our student cleaners. And this again would be there to supervise, to check on those students, and to answer any questions, run interference if there were any problems. Yes.
Is there a limit to those hours that we're talking about with the student? Is that you were talking about 2 hour shifts? So is that 12 working hours per day, per week? I'm sorry if I misunderstood that.
The labor laws are very specific to how old they are and how many hours they can work. And if I remember correctly, it's 20 hours a week, but on a school night, no more than 4, depending on how old they are.
Yeah.
If they're 18, that's different.
How do we plan on utilizing that is what I'm asking.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Kevin would be specific. As you know, we have been short in cleaners. Kevin and those folks that have been here evenings, we have been limping along, and you approved some other substitutes who have been helping us out as well. So this would be an as needed. So there might be nights that we wouldn't have students, and there will be nights that we'll need them. These are substitutes, so only if someone is out. but we will start them in small increments. So it would be to fill in for somebody else who was absent.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the working supervisor for student cleaners.
Motion to approve. I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. Volunteers?
Yes, I see, but no recommendation. I recommend that you accept the applications for these two volunteers, Christina Klee and Dawn Meddy.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor of the volunteers, please raise your right hand. Opposed? Abstain? And that passes. Program action items. We need a motion to approve the recommendations from the Committee on Special Education and Preschool Special Education as printed.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? All in favor, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. We are on to roundtable. Sue, you want to start?
Sure. I received an email from the town of Yates, and I'll get this to Sharon. It's you can all possibly contribute. Maybe Vern, you do a lot of. The Orleans County Youth Bureau is looking for read here. It's the annual youth recognition banquet to honor youth and adults who've shown. Well, maybe you could be an volunteer to be an actual nominee, but anyway, have shown outstanding dedication and service. So youth and adults that are contributing to the community. So I'm going to send this out to everybody. But they're looking for nominations from our community of people that have. Do you have this already?
We do.
Okay, good. He wanted to make sure that it was shared because the town of Yates, we like to get our people recognized that continuously commit to the students. I just want to thank the parents that came forward. That was really insightful, and you know, I don't mean to ask tough questions, but I think that we need to keep asking questions and looking and trying. I'm trying to understand this. It's all new to me. That I mean, I think 7th and 8th grade is tough. 9th grade, whatever. School is hard, and there are bullies, and they don't do it like they used to do it in my day, where we took them outside and whooped them. Or we went to church together, and we had youth group together, and we played sports together, and our parents came at us if we treated people like I'm hearing students are being treated, and I'm very disappointed, and I'm very concerned as this has affected me personally with a 14-year-old girl that is the daughter of a close friend of mine that went to Albion a few years ago. And to hear these parents and their fear, I think it's very legit. She was 14 years old, and her picture in her underclothing she sent to a boyfriend at 14, and it went viral, and she committed suicide. And what these parents are talking about and concerned that their children are going to kill themselves or swallow pills or whatnot, it's just beyond comprehension to me that this is going on, and I think that we need to act immediately and severely and with intent. That I mean, this I can't imagine that if that happened in this community to any of our children would be devastating, not only to the family and the child, but to all of us. I just really encourage our staff, our administrators to really jump on this. I guess I hope that as a board we can support that effort, but I'm really big into mentoring, and I'm watching those young wrestlers up there, and this has to come from within. It has to come from parents, obviously, but it has to come within, and we need to create a culture in this school that, you know, if a 7th grader is getting bullied, that we need to step up and surround that kid with, hey, that's not going to happen here. And I don't know if this is even legal or how you do this anymore, but if one of those wrestlers was paired with a 7th grade kid, and that was his mentor, And Peyton, for example, is a great kid and knew that little Joey here in 8th grade is getting pushed around and beaten to the point where he feels he needs to contact his parents during the day, then maybe we set it up where Peyton meets that kid at the door of his classroom and walks that kid with that kid. And they're buddies. Nobody needs to know. Nobody needs to, it's not a, I guess when you hear you can't even go to the guidance counselor without being bullied, that's pretty significant. So if every kid has a mentor, every kid that says, hey, you know, they talk to them, they meet them somewhere, they, whatever, a Big Brother, Big Sister program right when they're at school. I can't think of a better way than to empower our older students to empower our younger kids, to make that a it can't happen. We can keep preaching and yelling and screaming and coming from downwards, parents, but it's gotta come, we need to empower our children that have made it and that are doing good things, to empower those other ones beneath them. But that's just my 2 cents. But I think it was very courageous of the parents to come out and share that. I thank them, and I'm really concerned about the fact that it was shared tonight, and then those kids tomorrow, what are they looking at? I'm concerned for them. That's all I got.
Thank you. Harold?
I'd just like to say, the wrestling team had a great year this year. I was proud to be a part of it, and they play as a family, and that's what makes them as good as they are. But also, whether they're winning or losing, these kids are being mentored into being good kids. And I know the bullying thing, it's happening everywhere. I know that it's with the internet, it's a lot easier. But the one coach who was up there today was bullied and bitten and all hit with rocks. And he made it. He made it with my son. And what do you do? What's the answer? I don't know if there is an answer. It'd be nice if there was. There's always 2 sides to the story. So, but the thing is if we're going to intervene, you're going to have to go in 100%. You can't placate this situation. You got to either go in or leave it alone. Because once you're in, there's no getting back out. So if you decide that you want to interfere with bullying versus maybe it's playground incidences, I don't know. That's going to be up to us as a group. But a lot of this stuff, bullying's been going on forever. Does that make it right? No. Is it our job to be involved? I know when my son was being bullied, the school said they were getting him when he was leaving school. As soon as he'd step off the school grounds, he was getting beat up, hit with rocks, beat up with sticks. And nobody did nothing. That was back when we had some pretty good administration. And I would come to them and I would say, well, what are we going to do? Well, they didn't do nothing, so I did something. So it worked out. Maybe it wouldn't have at that time of day. But I don't know. If you go in, remember, you're going to be all in.
On January 29th, Sharon and I attended the legislative breakfast at Cornell Cooperative Extension. It was very well attended. It was really nice this year to be able to sit down and just chit chat with other districts to see what the issues are. We're all kind of in the same boat with a lot of the fiscal issues. And Albany is taking notice. Whether or not they really do advocate on our behalf is to be seen, but they at least heard what we had to say across the board as far as, support for different funding and things of that nature. So we shall see. It's always a work in progress, and it's something that I don't think Noseville will stop pushing for, is for them to take notice of what the needs are of the students in the districts. Yeah.
Thank you. Steve?
Vern? I wanted to say thank you to 2 individuals who have been helping in one of our youth programs. Actually, there's a group of people that have been helping, and they did start basketball up and give the kids something to do over the winter on the weekends when we had space. Sean Smith, Jason Barnum, Rich Rounds, Caitlin Draper, and one other person will be young. That's 2nd to 4th grade. Oh my gosh, I
I
forgot.
think that was Rich.
Was Rich? Okay. And I just wanted to tell them I appreciate them giving the kids something to do. That's incredibly important.
Is it Mr. Stoll for the girls?
Yes, Mr. Stoll, thank you. And also Ms. Woodward. But these people have been volunteering their time, and they've even brought some of the high school basketball kids in to give them something to do. I'm really looking forward to the youth wrestling starting up and some of those kids from the varsity teams and the high school teams coming down and doing exactly what we were talking about, almost like a mentor. I know that my son, when he does see Peyton in the hallway, he will go up to him and talk to him and high five. And those kids are great role models. Both the kids up there, just an extra recognition to them. Last year they participated in the Murph Challenge. Maddox Sturk, he didn't do a modified event. He did the 1 mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and another mile with a vest on. Tough kid. I'm glad, and it's easy to see why he's successful on the mat. And so hats off to him. Just for school board members and parents to be aware, I understand that the end of the masking is allegedly in sight. But if you look at what two very powerful people have said, they're trying to tie it directly to vaccination rates. And that's one being our governor and also the president of the American Federation of Teachers. And they're looking to get an 80% vaccination rate among students to be one of the things that would be good for masks to come off. I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm very pro parents, you do what's best for your kids. And I think that it's going to have to come to the point where this isn't going to go away until enough of us say no. And if there's people that are upset that I don't have my mask on all the time, I'm not doing it to hurt your feelings, but I'm also not sick. So if you need to write an anonymous email chock full of grammatical errors, feel free to do it and I'll read every one of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared.
I want to resonate with what everybody's saying when it comes to Jack and Christy and Kristen tonight, feeling, able to come up in front of the board and share what they shared. That's always a positive move when you have parents interacting with us like that. Again, wrestling, great year, great show. I didn't make the sectionals, but I made the large tournament, and that was pretty cool. My son's ready to wrestle in the youth program, so hopefully you guys approve that and get that going. I think we got a lot of stuff to work on, obviously, as always. I think it sounds like we have to look at policies, as always, and see if those teeth fit the policy, and if they don't, or if they're not being followed through, we have to follow through as a board to make sure that's being followed through with Sharon and the rest of our administration. And the budget, yeah, KA, here we go again. Thank you, that's it.
Thank you, Joe.
I just want to say that thank you for the opportunity working here a little bit over 4 years. And it is different for every person when it's time to retire. It's just the right time for myself and my wife. So anyway, thank you.
Alyssa?
I'll start with congratulations and thank you to Joe and Luann. And I want to share a couple of things that I'm really looking forward to. The first being, oh my goodness, field trips. I'm so excited to have our students be able to travel and go to field trips. So you can look for some more information upcoming in the next couple of months as we finalize what places our students are able to go to and what funding sources we will use for those. And the next one is I am looking forward to elementary extracurriculars. There has been a change in procedure with the LTA agreement. So there's a slate of teachers that have said we are interested across several grade levels. And I know Mr. Schur and Mr. Zila spoke. They were two of the people that expressed interest. And then that team of people will get together and we'll talk about what's going to be the best for these students that we have. What can we offer that doesn't conflict with one another, and how is that going to look to make sure that we can maximize that? So you can look forward to information coming on that soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
So first of all, I definitely look forward to conversations about how we can improve school climate, and safety always, we have a great team that works very hard on it. I think we're dealing with some unprecedented issues with social skills, social media that have kind of emerged during the pandemic. I'm open to programs, initiatives, educational, otherwise, that we can do to get better. I'd also like to congratulate, obviously, all of our winter athletes on successful seasons. And particularly thank you for your support of the student cleaners. It was a fun, a tremendous experience interviewing those kids. They will get real, as we call it, above the table work experience as a result of that. For many of these kids, it'll be the first entry on their resume, their experience. They are really looking forward to it, and it meets a very real need for us. So I would just ask us all to keep an open mind and an eye to future opportunities where we can create work study and potentially even internships that would be credit bearing for kids. So thanks again for your support for that.
Thank you, Aaron. Lori?
I just gave everyone this little flyer about the BOCES having an open house type thing on March 3rd. So if you are interested in knowing, let me know, and I'll do it. And you.
Thank you. Anything else on the board before we ask for adjournment? Need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Because I was gonna call for an executive session.
Now's the time.
I'd like to call for an executive session for personnel.
Yeah, motion moved to executive session.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor of executive session, please raise your right hand. And we will pause the recording, go into executive session, come back, re-engage the recording to regular meeting, and then we will adjourn. No action to be taken.
I gave Joe 3/4 and then I gave.
Great. So what would you
As long as
recommend?
we haven't taken it offline.
Oh, you never seen Vern working raccoons?
You know what I mean? And
It's pretty funny to watch.
about, 2.5 hours.
Let's see that. Would you like this is the perfect way to take that.
Some potatoes, some rice. Well, so.
Pause it now.
Oh, yeah, let's just.
You should be able to
call that
pause,
free range. If it's there,
I think so.
you're, somebody else is probably feeding locally and it's just using like 10.
Thank you.
So someone's probably